At Greater Western Water, they use it for everything from call taking to dispatching to their asset stuff, confined space entry, everything else. It covers a hell of a lot of the business. So here I've got all of the call take, it's coming in, it's giving me the shut-off block, it's giving me the core assets, everything else.
Do they use that as their primary name and address register as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's coming off their property database. So they've got the properties. So if I go to a property, they've got the property definition in there. So there's the property, there's the shut-off block for that property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's the location of that property. Property details there.
Yeah.
All of our water customers follow a similar model or the same basic model and the same terminology really. And we've found it to be very good terminology. So we have the concept of what we call a case. Mm-hmm. And a case is just a generic problem, but it's at the problem statement level. And we have a couple of cases, if you like, in the sense you'll have, say, 4. You'll have a responsive network and then responsive facility, a planned network and planned facility. So above ground, below ground, planned and unplanned.
Yeah.
And each of them have slightly differences. Obviously, if it's an infrastructure or a facility, it typically won't have a customer involved because no customer is reporting about the failure of a pump in station XYZ. It might have a department details, it might have whatever.
Yeah.
As opposed to a reactive network case or responsive. Some people use reactive, responsive, doesn't matter. But, reactive network case, it covers basically all the customer details. It'll cover whether it's what's being potentially impacted. It'll have all of the notifications, everything else. It's at the customer level. So the sort of classification of the fault, the priority of the fault, the criticality of it, what's been impacted is, in this case, it's like, is it the key customer? They've just introduced some safety stuff, abnormal voltages and aggressive behaviour of customers and stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's field crew safety stuff. Then we really get down to some management stuff like capital works and all the rest of additional callers, assignment and management. Then we have what we term actions. So an action is how we solve the problem. And it can be a combination of sort of asset-based actions or investigate. So you're not actually fixing it, but it's potentially this is where it becomes very unique within the customer base. Depends a little bit within your, how you operate and whether you're using outsourced people. For instance, Western Water, they use supervisors to go and do the investigate, and they investigate, determine the sort of scale, determine what needs to be done, then start allocating. Others just say, we think it's a water leak, so we'll go and fix it as a water leak. We look at it. So it just depends. So an action, so if I look at the action list, they're going to be kind of like everything we do as a business. And it can be, like I said, both human things like or customer things like shut off, so that goes to the EC reporting. So if I have to shut off, I record the fact that I've shut it off, and that goes directly to the EC reporting. As opposed to, I might do an inspection, I might do a repair of a valve, or I might do a reinstatement. So you might, for a complex job, you've got to repair the water main, you might have traffic management, and you'll have the reinstatement, because each of them are also potentially assignable, because you might have a different team that does reinstatement to a team that does the actual repair to the person that does traffic management. So then you can really build a sort of complex job that could have multiple people involved, or you might just have someone that goes and does a repair, and that's it. I've got a water repair, go out, fix it, catch you later.
If that investigation is complete and it's identified that the original case that was created by customer experience is not reflective of the actual issue at hand, what does Clarity allow you to do, I guess, in a certain way? Are people potentially closing the original case and creating a new one, or are people sequencing that case to be, now this is this case type thing?
So the case is always what the customer's reported, and we never change it because that was what the customer reported. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it stays as a water fault.
Yeah.
But then what will happen is after a supervisor review, let's say, or investigation, or you may not have an investigation, the whole point of an action is that it's done by a professional. It's not done by the call centre. The call centre doesn't say, this is a water leak. They say, here's a case where the customer's said it's a water leak.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with having a reactive network case, which is a water fault, then become a sewer fault because the actual action is a sewer fault. The fault doesn't change what it is. It's the action that's important, not what was reported. I reported as water leak because that's what I saw. The actual action is a sewer repair. So when I'm querying it, I'm going to say, well, how many people reported water faults? Okay, all of these people. How many actions were sewer repairs? And they're independent, because if I report a water fault, particularly in the country areas, as you probably know, you can end up with a water fault in the middle of a paddock. And it's got nothing to do with you guys. It's just that it rained overnight, type thing. So, for instance, here you've got a repair plus a isolate. So the repair is sort of to do with the asset, and the isolate is because I've shut off I've done an isolation. So every action is very relevant to the task at hand. So when I'm looking at an action, you might have some warnings, so, potential customer impact. So I'm doing a repair water main. Of course, each action is very, very specific to what I'm doing, and it may cover both the asset management side, but also maybe the customer side, or maybe whatever. It depends on what's it impacting. So here, obviously, the questions I'm going to ask the operators to fill out are going to be regarding the repair water main. So we don't have just one generic work order, which sort of tells you nothing about the business. So here they're saying, replace pipe joint. What did I actually do to repair it? What was the size? It's very specific to each action that I'm taking. So it's a very, very simple construct, and virtually you can build any sort of workflow, because it depends on the complexity you want to, and the simplicity you want to make the actions. Thing. So as you saw, we've got a massive base. It kind of depends on, not every customer has exactly the same action or collecting exactly the same data. Your business might look at that and go, no, we never record that. We don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because it's not relevant to us, because our network's brand new, or it's old, or we don't have asbestos, or we do have asbestos. And that's where the variations come into it. If we had a drop down which only had asbestos in it, or had 5 questions regarding asbestos, well, your network may not have a drop of asbestos in it. That's where the tailoring comes into it. And this is where I totally agree about best of breed, because there's no such thing as best of breed, because it's your workflow. It's a workflow that you guys are doing. So this is where Clarity really has a construct, and we have some very basic principles, and basically you can, you live within that parameter set, and that's all pre-built. The concept of a case, and the concept of an action, and concept of an in-tray, and all of those stay the same, and they stay working. The different statuses, but what you then look at is, well, what actions do I need? Okay, yep, I need a repair water main. Yep, that's great. Okay, but I don't need these 3 fields, or I need these 2 extras. Great, I've done repair water main. That's relevant to us.